I don't know who read the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series from Rick Riordan, or if anybody here is familiar with Rick Riordan's books. But basically, it's a spin-off of one of the camps that was very much like the focal point of the Greek series that he wrote, Percy Jackson. Basically, in the books, it was this place where demigods, so like, half god, half, you get the idea. They're like the kids, right? Mm-hmm. Where they could go and they would be like safe in this little bubble of a camp, and they would be trained on how to fight, and like they would hone their like skills, and they would build community and all this other stuff. So at any rate, one of the families in the homeschool group opened up a Camp Half-Blood, and they made like the orange T-shirts and the Pegasus, and it was very cool. It was honestly, there wasn't really a whole lot of, there was a spiritual aspect to it. Like obviously we would pray before meals, and like I think as the years went on, there was more and more and more incorporation of like Christian ideas into it. But truthfully, like most of the time it existed so that kids could come together, have a hell of a time for 3 straight days, and beat the tar out of each other with foam swords. Like that was a big thing, right? All the dudes just got together and just, it was, it was great.
Yeah, let's talk details.
Let's talk
details.
I
want to get into it because
what do you want to know?
I've seen the swords are crazy. How long do you guys work on those? Wait, first thing I actually want to know is how long has it been going on?
Okay. It's like 17 years now. 16 years, maybe. I was young. I was like a year 2, I think, year 3, something like that. So I was it was part of the first group. You mentioned the swords.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the swords.
Let's talk about the swords.
Because, you've seen these, like, big creations, these, like, pool noodles, I'm sure, on the end of PVC pipe. It's, like, 12 freaking feet long, right? Just all you got to do is swing it at the ground and you hit, like, 25 people kind of thing.
Because they're all kids.
Right. So it never used to be like that. There used to be, everybody had Nerf. Nerf used to make Nerf, I'm going to start here. If anybody at Nerf ever watches this, please bring back the foam swords. These things were fantastic. I'm sorry if you ever got sued because of them, but please bring them back. So basically, Nerf used to make, there were 2 lines of foam swords they would make. They would make the Zombie Strike, and then there was one other one.
And Strike.
Yeah, and Strike.
I had it.
Yeah, I have the Zombie Strike. I have the Zombie Strike. Yes, I have the mace.
Do you still have that?
Oh yeah.
Is it still in your car?
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is.
But continue. Sorry.
So, so they made these rubber foam like weapons, and so the swords, I mean, they were like normal sword length. So when camp first was like the first probably 6-7 years of it, everybody had one of those. And so there was an actual like skill to it, right? Like there were tiers of kids. One of the best swordsmen, there were a few that were really good, but Will, I remember he had a Marauder that he used. And then Patrick was a phenomenal swordsman. And we would do like dueling. There would be like a period of time, it was usually like a 30-minute section during the day, where there was this like rectangle in the like up by the main parking area, and it was big enough that you could like take a few steps in, but it was a duel. I mean, it was 2 people. You would challenge somebody, you'd go in with them, and it was a fight to the death kind of thing. It was heavily monitored, so like if your arm got hit, like you couldn't use the arm kind of thing. Like it was just a really cool thing. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, so it was very heavily skill based originally, and then Nerf discontinued the swords, and so people had to start making their own swords. And slowly it transitioned into now it's who has the bigger sword.
So you would say it's pay to win?
Yeah, it's pay to win.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, because like you're not paying that much money to build these things. Yeah. Like you're just getting some pool noodles and some PVC pipe, calling it a day.
Duct tape.
a lot of duct tape. But yeah, it used to be like a lot more of a skill aspect, in my opinion. It's like it gets a little frustrating sometimes thinking about it, but I still lived in that era where it was heavily just the Nerf swords and whatnot. It was a good time.
Yeah. What's it? So when it all started, was Viking football a thing? And then also, what is Viking football?
Might I don't know. This is a dangerous topic.
Well, let's keep it.
So Viking football.
Yeah, let's keep it. Yeah.
Viking football. So you have two sides of the field, right? You picture, for the sake of the audience and your minds, picture a football field. Okay. So you have a team in this end zone and a team in this end zone. You walk to the middle, and there's referees. You start the clock. It's usually like 2 to 3 minutes per like round. And basically, you have to try and drag, carry, pull, whatever, as many people as you can from the opposite team into your end zone. Once they get to your end zone, they have to stay there till the round's over. And then once the round is over, everybody goes back to their collective sides. And obviously one team's going to be hopefully bigger than the other. And it's basically just, that's what it is, right? You keep going until it's just either one person or nobody left. Or a few, or these people surrender, or whatever, right? That's kind of like the person is the football.
Did you guys like invent that?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't remember a whole lot of like the early days of camp. Like I said, I was a year 3, so it was a thing when I first got there. So I don't know if they came up with it or if it was already a pre-existing thing. I want to say they came up with it.
And the field. Do you guys do anything special to the field?
Yeah. So we get the field like soaking wet. So it's a complete mud hole. It's fantastic. Originally it's a great time. Then everybody starts to get older. And it starts to turn into more of a brawl. People start getting hurt. And that's okay. We all agreed to it. I've been there on more than one occasion. But yeah, that's Viking football was everybody's favorite most of the time. Until we all started getting older, and it's like you wake up the next day and you're like, pretty sure I fractured my spine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can definitely see. I would have been the person that would take it too far. And then the last day, there is something that goes on.
The camp show. So the show, is something that you kind of prepare for throughout the whole 3 days of camp, right? Because you're sectioned out in cabins. It's structured very much like the camp off Papua in the books. So like everybody has their like god that they're cabin with. When I was a counselor, I usually led like the Aries cabin, for example. But each cabin individually, they work together during the week the 3 days to first of all do a skit. The skits used to be very generic. They were like the corny skits, that you find on the internet kind of thing. It was fun. It was a good time, whatever. And then we started to be able to like write our own and like do some other random things. We went a little too far a couple times. It happens. But the other thing is there's a dance show. Usually, obviously the girls of camp go and do like a 3-minute dance show. They like choreograph they choreograph a whole thing. And then there's also battle enactment. Battle enactment is basically, it's usually all the guys. It's a mass choreographed war, essentially. It's usually like 5 minutes long, and it takes the whole 3 days. There's usually like 3 or 4 like main level counselors who are like planning the whole thing, and there's usually a big pretty much all the time everybody dies except for like 5 or 6 people, and then there's like this mini like sword fight completely choreographed with like the 5 or 6 people, and then I don't know, it's a whole thing. The show itself is probably like hour and a half,
Is that long?
2 hours, yeah, something like that. It's cool because like every cabin has to do their own skit too. So like you do skits.
Oh, so it's all
And then
together.
you
You
do-
fitting skits. Okay.
Yeah.
I
But
thought it was the
you
battle
do your
scene was an
own.
hour and a half.
No.
It's like-
The battle scene itself is probably only like 5-10 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
The skits are what take the longest because each cabin, if you have like 13 cabins, each cabin has to go up and do their like 3 to 5 minute skit.
Mhm.
And so it's like,
Yeah.
all right. Come on.
Yeah, but I think it's cool about Camp Half Blood is like all the parents come and watch all of that stuff. So you have like all the people like sitting down and watching. It's, I mean, that's what kids need. I mean,
It is.
It's a good break from reality.
You know, it's a great break from reality. So this is the point I was going to bring up. There wasn't a whole lot of like spiritual incorporation. Honestly, my parents, I mean, they liked it obviously because we were having a good time and like it was a homeschool group people that we knew. But like I think that there were times where they were like, well, you know, we'd like they're more Catholic and integration, Christian incorporation kind of thing. But truthfully, it really was there just to like bring community together. You know what I mean? To have kids just be able to come together for like 3 days and just do whatever, have fun, be kids, beat the tar out of each other with foam swords, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And that was like, I think that was the most important thing for me, at least. It was a time where I could go and just have fun.
Yeah, well, and then the kids get to create something.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only been here for what, we've been 8 years, 7 years, whatever the math is.
Yeah.
And
I've been here for
your whole life.
23.
It's too long. But seeing, kind of being introduced to it, hearing the idea, and I was like really confused about it. But then now, like my siblings are going to it, they're involved in it, and like seeing what all the leaders do, it's really really cool.
Yeah,
being able to create something as a community, you just get so close. You build these friendships that are just going to last for so long, and I think it's beautiful what they're doing. And hopefully they'll watch them, send this to Dom, all the people that watch this or do like Camp Half Blood. Hope they can enjoy the old school mentality, the OG talking about Camp Half Blood.
Yes, sir.
I think it's an absolutely beautiful thing.